Hi, hello, welcome to Spell Day. We're covering spell every single day of the year from the 5e PHB. I twisted the chord, plus 3. Those plus 3 spells are homebrew spells. We're at plus 1 at the moment. You can head back in the playlist to find it. Today's spell is Move Earth. 6th level Transmutation, cast time of 1 action, range of 120 feet, components for somatic material, an iron blade, and a small bag containing a mixture of soils, clay, loam, and sand, a duration concentration up to 2 hours. Choose an area of terrain no larger than 40 feet on a side within range. You can reshape dirt, sand, or clay in the area in any manner you choose. For the duration, you can raise or lower the area's elevation, create or fill in a trench, erect or flatten a wall, or form a pillar. The extent of any such changes can't exceed half the area's largest dimensions. So if you affect a 40-foot square, you can create a pillar of up to 20 feet high, raise or lower the square's elevation by up to 20 feet, dig a trench up to 20 feet deep, and so on. It takes 10 minutes for these changes to complete. At the end of every 10 minutes you spend concentrating on the spell, you can choose a new area of terrain to affect. Because the terrain's transformation occurs slowly, creatures in the area can't usually be trapped or injured by the ground's movements. The spell can't manipulate natural stone or stone construction. Rocks and structures shift to accommodate the new terrain. If the way you shape the terrain would make a structure unstable, it might collapse. Similarly, the spell doesn't directly affect plant growth. The moved earth carries any plants along with it. Okay. You know those ridiculous, formations you can make in city skylines? Alright, surface terraforming! That's pretty good. So, interesting thing first, it's not a self-spell. I thought this was a self-spell, and then you can affect things within 120 feet of you for the course of the 2 hours. No, you pick a range of 120 feet, and then a 120-foot radius of that you can then affect 40 feet segments of. Over the course of 10 minutes. For concentration for 2 hours. This is a weird spell. Though, I think first we have a Transmutation creative spell based off whatever you can do with it, because it's terraforming. I mean, it also depends the environment. If you do this in a rocky canyon, you're not going to get much. Especially because you can then only affect dirt, sand, and clay. The first two, not that stable. This third one? Pretty decent. Alright, we could do a lot. Because this could also be, as long as you're in areas that have this kind of material in abundance, it'd be fantastic. So yeah, okay, it's not stone, so you can't make mines, and if you are in any kind of rocky elevation or you find rocks, it's just gonna move around it. But if you're in a grass field, you can instantly make defensive trench lines and have mounds of dirt as walls already set up. Same thing with the sand, same thing with the clay. Not to mention, you don't have to just select one of these, it can take the mixture of all three, it just affects the three of them. A big one, this would be, again, terraforming or any kind of large landform project that is just on surface level things and not deep underground, then you don't need to run into rock. You're good. So yeah, the military trench lines, moats, instant moats. Also depends, you can make them extremely deep until you hit stone. Well, I guess there's also the issue of the 40-foot, okay. Because it has dimensions you have to work with and it's a physical space, it's not making the material or just vanishing it. You do have to kind of engineer your way around where it's going and how you're moving it. You've got 2 hours to do that. And it moves in 10-minute segments. Which is an interesting look, because it's not an instantaneous, earthbending where, whoosh, it's all changed, there's a pillar there now. No, it takes 10 minutes. As the dirt slowly is moved and rising. And it takes the plants with it, so you could actually feasibly use this to move trees or parts of forests. Yeah, if there's a tree growing in this grove now, or you want to move a tree slightly over to the left, you could do that by just moving the dirt that's under it. Moving the dirt that's under it. Many large-scale projects, needing to smooth out terrain for a city or road, needing to smooth out needing to dig out terrain for a canal, because that's a big thing. You could entirely, and also reinforce by packing the dirt or clay into certain areas. Yes, you'll need further reinforcement after that, but you could dig canals with this. Quite frequently. Maybe this kind of acts as a self-spell now reading through it, because it just says anything in range. So, I don't know. So do you cast this on an area, and then it's a 120-foot radius area, or do you cast this, and then just for 2 hours, anything that's within 120 feet of you, even though this doesn't say self? I don't know. You can dig basements, set up foundations for castles, sites, you can listen, high ground's always a good thing in a battle, you can set up your own high ground. It's an industrial spell. You need to move a lot of terrain really fast, you can do that. Issues just when it comes to stones. Oh, then there's also the destroying terrain. Or not terrain, structures, because, well yes, it tries to move to accommodate it. There's a point where you can make something so unstable it will collapse. this breaks any siege. Well, maybe not any siege, but this can be used terribly. It's a terrible, great offensive effect, and also just, how to put it? If you did this underground in terrain where it's just under a lot of clay, because that's the other thing, I'm not a geologist. I don't know the full layering of ground in certain areas on how deep you have to go until you hit stone, but I do know in certain areas that have a lot of dirt, sand, and clay to an extent, you can make them plenty rich with sinkholes, and you can just artificially do that now. You could make terrain treacherous, both in the trenches system, any of those massive, like, oh yeah, no, there's just a 40-foot deep pit, or even larger if you want it. Put spikes at the bottom, why not? Again, construction. If you need something built and you need to move the terrain as a part of that construction effort, this does it for you. And you can destabilize structures previously by virtually creating sinkholes or just changing the terrain around them. Or, like in some classic sieges, just pile up dirt next to the wall and use it to climb over. 7 out of 10. You gotta be a bit creative with it. Still concentration. The fact it also is a bit slow to actually make these movements only affects these 3 materials. Okay, world building wise, yes, there'd be a lot more implications. The issue why I don't 100% say that is because it's still 6th level. Still a little more expensive, so not every spellcaster is going to get it, but the amount, depending on how you can cast it, if it's yourself, and then you can move, and then anything within 120 feet of you, yes, this might be to some greater effect that can cover more ground with one cast. But 8 out of 10, I bumped to 8. But I'd also like to hear from you in the comments of what uses, both civic, offensive, and player uses, or BBG uses you can think down in the comments for this spell. Because I feel like there's a lot of potential with it. Just can't think of it right now.